Hello and welcome to the Run Testers. My name's Nick and this is our first run review of the Saucony Endorphin Rift. The Endorphin Rift is a new entrant into Saucony's Endorphin range for 2023. It is a trail running shoe and it is designed to be the Endorphin Speed for the trails, if you will. So Saucony already has the Endorphin Edge, which is a Carbotex carbon-plated trail racing shoe. The Endorphin Rift sits in the range below that. It doesn't have a carbon plate, but it is still designed to be a speed-focused shoe, much like the Endorphin Speed is for the road. Price is high though here for a shoe that is billed as the trail version of the Speed because it's more expensive than the Endorphin Speed. It costs £180 in the UK and $170 in the US. It weighs in at 281 grams or 9.9 ounces in my UK size 9, which is pretty good, pretty lightweight for a shoe with such extensive lugs. And it's got a 6mm drop from heel to toe with a stack height of 33mm at the heel and 27 at the forefoot. So the key part of the shoe that makes it part of the Endorphin range is the midsole, which is made from Saucony's PWRRUN PB foam, the stuff we've seen on the Endorphin Speed, Endorphin Pro, Endorphin Edge, and actually also some of it in the Exodus Ultra 2 trail running shoe as well. It's a very lightweight, bouncy foam, and you've got Saucony Speedroll rocker as well, which creates that nice fluid ride with the shoe. Although there is no carbon plate in the shoe, it does have a woven rock plate, which you can see under the forefoot of the shoe there through the gaps in the outsole. Then you've got a mesh upper, lots of protection at the front there, and it's quite stretchy with this almost booty design on the front part of the shoe. But then at the back, Saucony's added this almost extra layer of material here that basically makes it less stretchy, creates a nice cradle fit at the back of the shoe. You've got quite a high collar here, extensive internal heel counter as well, so it should be very stable at the heel, and it holds the foot in a nice strong lockdown position there. You have a pull tab on the back and a lace garage there if you want to use that on the shoe, and then you've got a power track outsole with 4.5mm lugs. These are quite substantial lugs for a shoe like this that is focused on speed. You're going to get a lot of bite into soft ground with these lugs, and hopefully they'll be nice and adaptable too. We'll see how they feel on harder ground as well as on soft stuff, but it's really quite an impressive outsole with big lugs for a shoe that is still quite lightweight and speed focused.
The fit for me in the Saucony Rift, I'm a size 8, this is a size 8 UK. There's plenty of room in this shoe. There's about a thumb's width in front of my big toe, so plenty of space, which is what you want with a trail shoe. I also found that there's quite a lot of space in the midfoot and the forefoot as well. There's plenty of wiggle room for your feet, room for your feet to expand. It's a very comfortable shoe. I would say that the upper is not necessarily well designed for getting a really tight lockdown fit. I did feel like it was a little bit moving around a little bit as I was running. Not too bad, I managed to strap it down a bit, but it's definitely not a really tight, secure upper, which you'd probably get in some race shoes or faster pace shoes. The upper is made of this sort of sock-like material, which is extremely comfortable. It doesn't have a tongue, it just has an all-round wrap sock-like upper, and it fits very comfortably. There's plenty of padding around it as well, so I would say stick to your size in the shoe, and it's very comfortable.
So the fit of the Endorphin Rift is slightly tighter and more cramped than you had with the Endorphin Edge for sure. Like, it was noticeable before the run, but it did seem like I had quite a lot of room. It didn't look like a problem. I thought my normal size would be okay, but actually on the run today, coming down hills, my right foot was hitting the front of the shoe a bit, and I could feel a little bit of pain in my big toe, you know, for a very short run with a couple of not exactly hard down hills. So that's a little bit of a concern. It's something I'll try and test out over some longer runs. Maybe I can rejig the fit with the various options at the back to get my foothold a bit better at the back so I don't slip forward into the front of the shoe there. My right foot is slightly bigger than my left foot, which is why it didn't happen on the left side, which is lucky because my left big toe is the one that's really bruised from the Ultra I did a little while back. So that would have not been nice to have that banging. So for now, I'd say be a bit wary. It's not the roomiest shoe for a trail shoe. So just heading out to do my first run in the Endorphin Rift. I've got a nice easy to steady 5 miles, 8k on the plan today, which I'll be doing in my local forest. A little bit of road to get there, and then it will be quite well groomed forest trails. It has rained a bit since I've last been in there, so they should have softened up a little bit, which will be fine in this shoe because it has such extensive lugs. So yeah, a bit of grass running, some forest paths, a little bit of single track, that kind of stuff. And then home. It's quite a nice day, should be a good run, just moving through the gears a little bit, and a nice chance to test the shoe for the first time. So just back from the run, which was very nice. Like I thought, it was pretty nice in the forest. There's still some few muddy patches, but mostly it's still quite dry in there. Did, like I say, a bit of grass, then onto forest trails for a bit of grass at the end, running from about about 420 a k at the start to a 340 a k by the end, just moving through the gears gently, nothing too strenuous, and then a little jog back afterwards. And the shoe felt really good. Like, it's got a very nice fluid ride. Certainly feel the nice rocker there. The foam feels quite bouncy when you're on harder stuff, and then you lose that a little bit on any kind of trail, really, I think. But you still get the nice flowing ride from the Speedroll rocker, and a little bit of extra from the PWRRUN foam in the shoe there. But just felt very comfortable for that kind of run today. Like, even though I was on quite some dry trails most of the time, the lugs didn't feel too long and skittery like that, and then they did bite on a couple of muddy patches I went through. Just, yeah, felt really good. Like, but maybe some qualms I have probably about the weight of the shoe. Like, it feels like quite a big shoe. Like, I didn't really notice it much today, but wasn't pushing too hard and too much speed there. And yeah, the idea of being an Endorphin Speed for the trails is quite interesting. The Speed is very nimble and lighter than the shoe, noticeably. And obviously you've got the big outsole on this. I wonder if maybe the outsole's just slightly overdone. I feel like potentially they could have made those lugs slightly shorter. Obviously it would give it less versatility for soft ground running and stuff like that, but it adds quite a lot of weight, and that takes away a little bit from the speed and fun of the shoe. But for the most part, really liked it today. I look forward to try and do some faster stuff if I can, just to test that theory about the weight being a bit slightly big shoe and go a bit longer in it. But yeah, it felt very nice today, very fluid. Good, enjoyable run in the sun.
So I just got back from Berlin Marathon a week ago. I've had a cold, I have niggles, so I've done a fairly easy run in the Saucony Rift. I did a 5 miler around some light trails around the parks in my local area. What I found was there's a little bit of road section as well in there to get to the park. It's quite a lightweight feeling shoe. It definitely feels nice to run in. Even on the road sections, it felt quite comfortable. The midsole is quite soft. You notice it straight away that there's a very soft midsole in it. So when you're running on harder ground, it's a nice bonus. I think Saucony do mention that there's a bit of bounce in the shoe because of this PWRRUN PB foam. I didn't notice a lot of it, but it did feel very comfortable and enjoyable to wear. It did roll forward quite nicely. It has Speedroll technology in it, so it does tick you along nicely. Feels very comfortable. You can get a nice cruising pace in it. Also feel like you can go a bit faster in it. It's a relatively light shoe. It feels light on the feet, and I really enjoyed it over that first run. It's pretty dry today, so I didn't test it out on any wet, muddy inclines or declines, but I did try a few hilly bits, and it felt absolutely fine. I'd say the outsole grip is similar to something like the Saucony PWRRUN range. It's pretty good. It's not the most aggressive lugs you're going to find on a shoe, but there's quite a lot there. And on the fairly easy terrain that I was running on today, it felt absolutely great, very comfortable. Didn't have any problems at all with gripping the ground. On the softer bits, so I did a bit of running over some grassy bits. Felt fine, but as I always say, when you get a trail shoe that has a softer midsole, it doesn't really deliver very well when you're on softer ground. It gets a bit more sluggish, and it wasn't great. But because it feels relatively light, it was fine. Not any issues with that at all. So what I would say is that over that first run, I really enjoyed it. I think it's a very comfortable shoe. The only downside I would find to it is that it was just a little bit difficult to get a nice, firm, lockdown fit in it. But other than that, it felt stable, comfortable, and enjoyable. So my early verdict on the Saucony Rift is that it is a really nice, comfortable trail shoe that is probably quite good for varied terrain. I'd say that this is, if you owned one trail shoe, from that first run, I'd say if you owned one trail shoe and you wanted something that could tackle lots of different sorts of ground, so harder ground, softer ground, maybe a little bit of road, it does a great job. I like a soft shoe, and most of the trails that I run on tend to be fairly compact, all gravelly, so this works quite well for those, and it felt very comfortable in the upper as well. Also, I like the fact that there's lots of space in the upper, so it's a nice comfortable shoe for most people. If you've got a wide foot, you should be fine with this shoe.
So it was a really enjoyable first run in the Endorphin Rift, but I'm still not entirely convinced by the need for the shoe, actually, given that it is quite expensive, and Saucony has so many good trail shoes that aren't a million miles away from it. Obviously, there is the Endorphin Edge, which actually is often cheaper than the Endorphin Rift at the moment because it's a slightly older shoe, and it's got a slightly higher stack. It's got the carbon plate in there, which obviously isn't as flexible as the woven rock plate you have in the Rift, but I found it okay to use quite generally, the Endorphin Edge, and I don't think there's a massive difference in terms of stability and all that kind of stuff compared to the Rift. So yeah, we tempted to buy the Edge, but you obviously get a bit more pop from the plate and it's a slightly lighter shoe. But the Rift maybe is a little bit more flexible. It probably will come into play a bit more at times, but over a short run like today, I've been just as happy. I've done that exact run in the Endorphin Edge and it felt, quite similar. And there's the Exodus Ultra too, which I really like. It's a bit cheaper and obviously only has a core of PWRRUN PB and a frame of PWRRUN, so it's not quite as bouncy and dynamic as the Endorphin Rift, a bit more heavy, but it's another good cruising shoe that you could use for lots of similar training runs. So yeah, again, there's a little bit of overlap there. The Peregrine has got a PWRRUN midsole. It's a bit less vibrant and lively underfoot, but again, it's another really solid trail shoe. I just don't know if the Rift really stands out that much in the range when they could have maybe, I think, like I say, taken off a bit of that outsole, had it as a lower lugged outsole, made it a lot lighter, made it a really speed focused shoe compared to some of the other ones in the Saucony range. So I do think they overlap a bit in all being really very good shoes, but there's just a lot of them and it is quite expensive. So yeah, obviously maybe I'll come to love it a lot more over time and it'll really stand out for me even within the range. But at the moment, it just seems like it's a clutch of pretty good shoes there with a lot of similar characteristics. I also don't really see it so much as the Endorphin Speed yet for the trails. The Endorphin Speed is a lot lighter and it feels very comfortable going really fast. And I think like the Rift felt great today for the short amount of time I spent running at a slightly faster pace, but I'm still not convinced about it for really fast stuff. We'll try that for the full review. But yeah, so far I liked it. I really enjoyed using it, but there are a lot of shoes in Saucony's range I like for similar kind of jobs, and it's quite an expensive shoe. So I think for it to really be worthy of that price tag, I'm going to have to see something a little bit more in the rest of our testing for our full review.